Sometimes a voice doesn't just sing, it reaches deep into your soul and stays there forever. It speaks the words you never had the courage to say, and it gives sound to the pain, the joy, and the dreams that live quietly inside your heart. Johnny Rodriguez had one of those voices. And now, in the silence he leaves behind, we find ourselves holding on to every note, every lyric, and every memory of a man who changed everything with a guitar and a story to tell. Johnny Rodriguez wasn't just a country music star. He was a pioneer, a fighter, a poet in his own right. He gave a voice to a community that had long been left out of the country music world. He sang from the deepest parts of his heart, and somehow his words found a way into ours. His music crossed borders and broke barriers, not by force, but with love, honesty, and soul. And now, we remember him. We honor the life behind the music. We hold close the songs that became the soundtrack to our lives. Because Johnny Rodriguez wasn't just someone we listened to, he was someone we felt. Johnny Rodriguez came into the world on December 10, 1951, in Sabinal, Texas, a small town tucked between dusty roads and open skies. Life moved slowly there. People worked hard, lived humbly, and carried their dreams quietly. Johnny was the youngest of 10 children in a large Mexican-American family that was rich in love, even if not in wealth. Their home was filled with stories, traditions, and music, a kind of magic that could be felt even in the hardest times. From the time he could walk, Johnny was surrounded by sound. His mother hummed lullabies in Spanish. His older siblings played records that mixed the aching beauty of Mexican folk songs with the smooth, twangy melodies of country music. Johnny didn't just listen. He absorbed it. He was drawn to the raw emotion in every lyric, the way a voice could rise and fall like a prayer. Even as a boy, music wasn't just background noise. It was part of his heartbeat. But childhood didn't last long. When Johnny was just 16, his father died. The man who had guided the family, who had worked tirelessly to give them stability, was suddenly gone. That loss shook Johnny deeply. The following year, tragedy struck again. His older brother, a figure of strength and comfort, was killed in a car accident. The grief was heavy, almost too much for a young heart to bear, and yet something extraordinary happened. In the silence that followed sorrow, a voice began to rise. A voice filled with pain, but also with beauty, depth, and truth. Johnny didn't know it yet, but those early wounds would give shape to the songs that would one day help heal others. In his brokenness, a gift was being born. Life took another turn when Johnny, at just 18 years old, was arrested for a minor offense. He landed in a Texas jail, a place where many dreams die. But even in that cell, he found a way to keep hope alive. He would sing, not for anyone else, but for himself, to feel something other than the weight of grief and confusion. One day, a Texas Ranger heard him singing through the bars. He was stunned. There was something in that voice, raw, real, and unforgettable. That moment led to a call and then another, until eventually Johnny was introduced to country music legend Tom T. Hall. Hall didn't just hear a good voice. He saw a story that needed to be told. He brought Johnny to Nashville, helped him get a record deal, and soon the young man from Sabinal was standing in a studio recording his first single. That song, Pass Me By If You're Only Passing Through, launched a career that would make history. With his second single, You Always Come Back to Hurting Me, Johnny shot straight to the top of the charts. He wasn't just a rising star, he was a force. The music industry had never seen anything quite like him. He sang country music with a smoothness and emotion that cut straight to the heart. And when he slipped Spanish lyrics into his songs, he wasn't asking for permission. He was claiming his place. Then came Ridin' My Thumb to Mexico, a song that captured the longing and freedom that so many felt but couldn't explain. That song became a classic, and Johnny, he became a legend. Hit after hit followed. Love put a song in my heart. That's the way love goes. Just get up and close the door. His voice was everywhere, on radios, on televisions, on stages filled with fans who saw themselves in him. And he did it all without losing who he was. Johnny Rodriguez was the first Mexican-American country music star to reach such heights. In a genre where people like him were rarely seen or heard, he stood tall. He didn't try to change who he was to fit in. He changed the world to make room for who he had always been. He sang with a proud heart. When he included Spanish in his songs, it wasn't just beautiful, it was bold. It reminded people that country music wasn't just for one kind of story. It was for anyone with a heart full of longing, love, and truth. Johnny made space. For every young Latino artist who wondered if there was a place for them in country music, he was the answer. He showed them it was possible, that their voice mattered, that their story deserved to be heard. But fame isn't always kind. The pressure, the spotlight, the constant demand, it all began to take its toll. Johnny's life wasn't perfect. He faced legal troubles, addiction, and moments of deep personal darkness. The world that once cheered for him could also be harsh and unforgiving. He stumbled. He got lost. But he never stopped singing. Because music wasn't just a career for him, it was a lifeline. Through every mistake, every heartbreak, every fall, he found his way back through song, and his fans never gave up on him. They stayed, even when the radio stations moved on, because they knew who he was. They knew what he had given them. Johnny never needed flashy comebacks. He didn't chase fame. It came to him because his music was real. Even in the later years, when he wasn't topping charts, he was still singing to packed rooms, still touching lives. His concerts felt like homecomings. People traveled miles just to hear his voice again. And when he sang those old songs, songs that had once played on the soundtrack of their lives, it felt like time stood still. He never stopped creating. He kept recording, kept writing, kept giving. Not for applause, not for money, but because it was in his blood. When the news came that Johnny Rodriguez had passed away, it felt like a part of our hearts had gone quiet. The man who had carried our stories, who had poured his pain and hope into melodies, was gone. There were no more concerts to look forward to, no new songs to hold on to, just silence and sorrow. But in that silence, something beautiful happened. The world remembered. Fans shared memories, played his records, and spoke of how his music had carried them through heartbreaks, long drives, and lonely nights. Fellow musicians paid tribute, calling him a trailblazer and a friend. And those who had once felt unseen in the world of country music stood tall, honoring the man who had made them feel seen. Johnny Rodriguez left behind more than just songs. He left a legacy of courage, love, and pride. He broke open doors that had been shut for too long, and he did it with grace. He taught us that your roots are not something to hide. They're something to sing about. His voice may no longer echo in new recordings, but it lives in the hearts of those who play his music and pass it on. It lives in every young artist who dares to be different. It lives in the fans who still get chills when they hear the first few notes of "Ridin' My Thumb to Mexico." His story is a reminder that pain can be turned into beauty, that loss can give rise to something lasting, that even the humblest beginnings can lead to a legacy that spans generations. Thank you for singing the words we couldn't say, for making us feel less alone, for showing us that country music could hold every story, every culture, every heart. Thank you for never giving up, even when it got hard. Thank you for showing us that imperfection doesn't erase greatness. If anything, it makes it more real. You didn't just change country music. You changed lives. As we say goodbye to Johnny Rodriguez, we don't do it in silence. We do it with music, with tears, with gratitude. Play his songs, remember his voice, and let it remind you that some gifts are too powerful to ever truly fade. Because Johnny didn't just sing songs, he sang us, and we will never forget.